Hello friends, welcome to AQYS YouTube channel. This session is a part of our quick revision series Prelims Atulya. In today's session, we'll discuss about legislature. In our last session, we spoke about executive, and in last session we discussed how the executive implements the law. Okay, so there are three organs of the government, although we discussed about this arrangement, but I'm going to tell you again so that you can have the better understanding about legislature. So there are three organs of the government. Okay, so we have legislature, then we have executive, and then judiciary. So in the last session we discussed how executive puts the laws into effect. So they supervise, people under executive, they supervise the implementation process. So implementation of what? Implementation of laws, implementation of policies, implementation of rules. Now the question arises, who frames these laws? Who frames these policies? So for that we have this specific organ of the government which is known as legislature. So legislature is responsible for the law making, and these laws govern our society. So just remember, legislature frames the laws, and these laws are implemented by executive, and judiciary, which is the third organ of the government, it reviews these laws. Okay, so judiciary checks whether these laws are in line with the constitution. It means it verifies the validity of the laws. So very simple, legislature is framing the law, executive is implementing the law, and judiciary is checking the law. Okay, now at the national level, this law making activity, it is performed by parliament. Okay, so at the national level we have parliament. Okay, and at the state level we have state legislature. State legislature. Okay, now this parliament, it performs the law making action. Now this parliament, it is a law making body. Okay, so apart from law, it performs so many functions. Okay, so law making, it is one of the functions of the parliament. Now this parliament, it is the center of democratic political process. Okay, it is always action packed. So at the parliament you see protest, you see walkouts, you see demonstrations, you see coordination, cooperation, consensus, everything is seen in the parliament. You must have heard people say this thing, that did you see what happened yesterday in the parliament? So it is a very interesting place. Okay, now this parliament, it comprises of two houses. Okay, so there are two houses of the parliament. One is Rajya Sabha and second is Lok Sabha. Okay, so first we'll talk about the Rajya Sabha, then we'll discuss about the Lok Sabha. Okay, so Rajya Sabha, it is the upper house of the parliament. Just remember, it is the upper house of the parliament. And the Lok Sabha, it is known as lower house of the parliament. And before we discuss about Rajya Sabha, remember one thing, since we have two houses at the national level, that's why it is also known as bicameral legislature. Okay, if there were one house, then it would have been called as unicameral legislature, but since we have two houses, that's why it is bicameral legislature. Okay, and what about the states? At the state, let me tell you that Constitution has provided the option to states. Okay, so they can establish either unicameral legislature or bicameral legislature. So they have this option. So right now we have 6 states which have 2 houses. So which are those states? It might be asked in prelims. Very important. Just remember, there are 6 states, and those states are Bihar, okay, UP, Maharashtra, Karnataka, Telangana, and Andhra Pradesh. Okay, so there are 6 states which have bicameral legislature. Now let's come to Rajya Sabha. So Rajya Sabha, it is elected for 6 years. So members are elected for 6 years. Okay, and remember that this Rajya Sabha, it is also known as the permanent house. It means it does not get dissolved. Why? Because the members, they do not retire at the same time. Okay, every 2 years 1/3 members, remember, 1/3 members, they retire after every 2 years. After every 2 years, only 1/3 members of the Rajya Sabha, they retire. Okay, and elections take place only for 1/3 seats of the Rajya Sabha. So this body, it does not get dissolved. It is a permanent body. Now there is a benefit of this arrangement. What is the benefit? That in case Lok Sabha gets dissolved, and if there is an urgent business, something needs to be discussed, something serious has to be discussed, in that case the meeting can be held. Okay, so Rajya Sabha meeting can be called. So that's why there is an advantage of this arrangement. So remember, it is a permanent body and members are elected for 6 years. Okay, and only 1/3 members, they retire after every 2 years. So these points are important regarding Rajya Sabha. Now what about the election? See, for the Lok Sabha, elections are held after every 5 years, and those elections are direct election. That election, Lok Sabha election, is direct election. However, for Rajya Sabha, indirect election takes place. Let me try to make you understand. See, at the state level, you choose the representatives, MLAs. Okay, so people, they vote for MLAs, and this is how MLAs are chosen for state legislative assemblies. And these MLAs in turn choose MPs for Rajya Sabha. Okay, so MPs for Rajya Sabha are not being chosen directly, they are being elected, they are being chosen by the MLAs. Okay, and these MLAs were chosen by the people, the residents of the states. Okay, so it is an indirect election. However, at the Lok Sabha, we have the direct election. We people, we choose the representatives and then they sit in the Lok Sabha. But it does not happen in the case of Rajya Sabha. Second thing, that in Rajya Sabha, President nominates 12 members. Remember this thing, that 12 members are nominated in Rajya Sabha, and these members are nominated from various fields like literature, social science, arts, and science. Okay, so remember, 12 members are nominated. Now one more thing I had forgotten to tell you, that there are some advantages of bicameral legislature. Since we have bicameral legislature, there is a reason behind it. And what is that reason? See, when you pass a bill, okay, so suppose the bill has been passed by the Lok Sabha, okay, and this bill was passed in haste, it wasn't discussed properly, then this bill goes to Rajya Sabha. Okay, So this bill, it is being reconsidered by the Rajya Sabha. It will be discussed again. So there is this double checking. So this is the first benefit, that every bill is being reconsidered again. Every bill is being rediscussed again. So this is the first benefit of this arrangement of bicameral legislature. Second, since we have two houses, then representation is more. Okay, every section of the society is getting the representation. In fact, all regions are getting covered because of the two houses at the parliament level. Okay, so there are two benefits of having this bicameral arrangement. Now let's talk about the Lok Sabha. Now Lok Sabha is known as the lower house of the parliament. Okay, now here direct election takes place. It means we people, we choose the representatives. Okay, after every 5 years we choose the representatives on our behalf, and these representatives sit in Lok Sabha and they enact the legislations on our behalf. They frame the laws on our behalf. Okay, so this is what happens in the Lok Sabha, and after every 5 years it gets dissolved. Okay, so remember, Rajya Sabha is the permanent body, but Lok Sabha gets dissolved after every 5 years. Okay, so there is one more fact you must know about Lok Sabha, that right now there are 550 members, and earlier there were 552 members. Okay, so 2 members would be nominated from Anglo-Indian community, but now this provision has been scrapped by 104th amendment in the constitution. Okay, so right now we have 550 members, and this Anglo-Indian community, this provision has been scrapped from the constitution. So just remember this fact, this is very, very important. Okay, so let me just summarize the entire lecture for you. We discussed about Rajya Sabha. Remember, it is elected for 6 years. 1/3 members, they retire after every 2 years, and Rajya Sabha, it is a permanent body. Then we discussed about the bicameral legislatures. Then we discussed about the advantages of bicameral legislature. Then we discussed about Lok Sabha. Remember, in Lok Sabha, direct election takes place. Okay, representatives are chosen. Those representatives, they frame the laws on our behalf. And remember about this fact, that right now there are 550 members. So all these facts I wanted to discuss in today's session, and you can download these notes. And if you have liked our initiative, you can subscribe our YouTube channel for more such videos. You can follow our social media platforms for daily current affairs content. So that's all. I'll see you in the next video soon. Bye bye.